Dare the Wind by Tracy Fern, the record-breaking voyage of Eleanor Prentice and the Flying Cloud. Compass Rose, the Flying Clouds, 1851 voyage from New York to San Francisco, but by water, it's a long way instead of just going across our country by land. Really long way. Dare the Wind. Ellen Prentice had always felt the sea tug at her heart, strong as a full moon tide. Her papa said that was because she was born with salt water in her veins. While the other girls spent their days stitching samplers and sweeping floors, Ellen spent her days at the shore in Marblehead, Massachusetts. She chased the waves. She raced the wind. She watched the great sailing ships skim over the wide, endless water, and she dreamed of living her life at sea and catching her share of adventure. Then every chance she could, she navigated Papa's schooner beyond the rocky arm of Marblehead Harbor. She practiced until she could find her way far out to sea with no landmarks to guide her. She practiced until she had sunburned cheeks and the wide step of a seasoned sailor. By the time she was a young lady, Ellen had practiced so much she could race the fleeting fishing fleet across Massachusetts Bay and beat it. "Catch me if you dare," Ellen shouted, and every ship she passed as she shot through the changing tides and slipped over rocky shallows. "Slow down, Ellen, and watch the wind and water," Papa always said when she returned to the shore. A true navigator must have the caution to read the sea as well as the courage to dare the wind. As soon as Ellen met a man who loved the sea as much as she did, she married him. For 10 years, Ellen and Perkins Creasy sailed sturdy ships on safe routes, Ellen as navigator and Perkins as captain. Then Perkins got command of a new clipper, the Flying Cloud. "Surely she's the most glorious ship afloat," Ellen thought when she first walked up the gangplank of the Flying Cloud as it lay docked in New York Harbor. The clipper's soaring masts, her sleek decks, her bow as sharp as a sailmaker's needle, they were all made to improve the clipper's speed. Ellen knew they would need every bit of that speed on their maiden voyage, a 15,000-mile journey from New York City down to the Cape Horn at the tip of South America and up to San Francisco, racing to get passengers and cargo to the gold rush. If Ellen Perkins could make the trip faster than any ship had ever, they would receive a bonus, bragging rights as the best sailors in the world. It was an adventure Ellen had always dreamed of catching. Finally, departure day arrived, June 2nd, 1851. The crew sang as they hoisted sail. "A Yankee ship comes down the river, blow, bully boys, blow. Her mast and spars, they shine like silver, blow, my billy boys, blow." The anchor rose with a clang. The shimmering white ship sails snapped taut. The Flying Cloud was away. Ellen stood on deck and let the rhythm of the rolling boats settle her in her bones. She wrapped her shawl close, raised the cold brass spyglass to her eye, and turned to face the unknown. The murky coastal water changed to bottomless blue as the Flying Cloud sailed into the open sea where the water met the sky. Now Ellen had nothing but the sun, the moon, and the stars to guide her. Each day at dawn, at noon, and at twilight, Ellen lifted her sextant from its flannel nest and took her measurements. In the evening, she went below decks to the great oak table where she ran her daily calculations. She marked the ship's position on her chart. She noted the distance they had traveled, counting from noon one day to noon the next as a full day at sea. We covered 164 miles our first day out, 145 miles on our second day, and 228 miles on our third, Ellen told Perkins as she marked her chart. Then she studied her wind and current guides. Finally, she plotted a course to catch the strongest wind and current she could. A fast course, Ellen thought, fast enough to beat every ship on the water. Ellen pushed the ship even faster. We went 293 miles, Ellen told Perkins the next day. The great mast creaked and groaned their song as the flying cloud rushed on. Hurry, hurry, hurry! Soon every twist of rope and thread of canvas was stretched taut. Catch me if you dare, Ellen yelled to the wind as she leaned far out over the bow, the sea sparkling green and white around her, and 10,000 yards of canvas stretched high and wide above her. Then on the fifth day, Ellen had heard a tremendous noise. Suddenly, the ship shuddered and tipped sideways. Another crash rang out. Then the shouts and pounding boots of crew. Ellen raced to midship. No, not my glorious ship, Ellen thought, her face turning white as whalebone when she saw the ruin. The main mast had broken. The sail hung in ribbons. The deck was littered with splinters of pine, shreds of canvas, and bits of iron. Perkins and the crew worked all through the day and night fixing that mast, patching the sails, and sweeping the deck. During that time, Ellen could only worry and wonder. Had her daring pushed the ship too hard? For the next few weeks, Ellen set a cautious course, catching gentler breezes. The Flying Cloud traveled only 137 miles one day, 171 miles the next. Then the wind slackened further. The waves slowed. The sails hung limp. The crew grew quiet and the passengers grew restless. The Flying Cloud drifted for days on a glassy sea. Calm, 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 Perkins scratched in his logbook. Ellen had steered the ship into the doldrums, the mysterious areas of calm around the equator that had plagued sailors for thousands of years. Ellen had steered the ship below decks at her chart table. Ellen studied a new book on navigation. It promised a path through the doldrums close to the coast of Brazil. That was a dangerous route. Ellen knew there were shoals along the coast that could turn good ships into ghost ships. But if she did nothing, the ship might drift hundreds of miles off course. Then Ellen remembered what her papa had taught her long ago. A true navigator must have the caution to read the sea, as well as the courage to dare the wind. There is no glory in second place, Ellen thought. Now is the time for courage. Ellen set a course to hug the coast and let the currents pull the ship toward shore. Finally, she spotted a ripple of dark water ahead. Wind! Slowly the sails filled. Soon the breeze was blowing a steady stream that tousled Ellen's hair and ruffled her dress. Ellen's new route led the ship out of the doldrums. The Flying Cloud flew on down the coast of South America, past Rio de Janeiro, Buenos Aires, and the Falkland Islands. By day 50, Cape Horn loomed ahead. Cape Horn! The words turned the sailors' faces grim. The devil's best mess, they worried. Nothing but swift tides, uncharted shoals, and the jagged jaws of shipwrecks. Clouds piled up black like cotton, and thunder boomed like cannon fire. Wind howled through the masts, and waves crashed onto the deck. Soon the ship was lost in the endless gray of sea and sky and snow. Ellen couldn't see the sun, so she couldn't use her sextant. Now was the time for caution, she thought. I can still read the sea. Ellen lashed herself to the rail and peered at the ship's wake through flashes of lightning. Usually the thin band of white water shot straight out behind the ship. Now the wake angled sharply out to sea. Ellen knew this meant that the wind and waves were pushing the ship sideways through the sea toward the rocky coast. Turning back would cost them some dear time, but Ellen did not hesitate. Ellen's heart raced like, we skipped one. She untied her ropes, then hand over hand, Ellen crept along the rail to Perkins. I've read the wake, Perkins, Ellen cried. Turn north or we'll be dashed to bits. Hard about, Perkins bellowed. The two helmsmen hung on the wheel, slowly turning the clipper through the eye of the wind. Ellen stood at the rail until the sleet froze her dress stiff and the ice glazed her hair like crystals. For 2 days she fought the gale. Finally the wind eased. The rain slowed. The waves flattened. The ship was safe. Ellen guided the ship south again. The flying clouds slipped around the ice-covered cliffs of Cape Horn and surged north through the Pacific. Day after day, Ellen rode the wind, keeping a careful watch on the mended mast. Faster and faster and faster, 300, 350, 400 miles a day. Would the mast hold? Ellen sped past schooners and sloops and brigs and barks. Finally, on the morning of August 31st, 1851, she heard the cry she had been waiting for. Land ho! Land ho! Ellen's heart raced like a riptide as she watched the red hills of San Francisco rise slowly over the horizon. She had done it. She had brought her ship and crew to safety, and faster than she had ever dreamed. 89 days, Ellen, a world record, Perkins said, laughing as he lifted her high. I never knew a sailor or a seabird who could find the wind like you. On the piers and in the warehouses, sailors whispered that Ellen must have put magic in the masts. But Ellen was a true navigator, just as her papa had taught her to be. She knew her magic was the caution to read the wind and the caution to read the sea and the courage to dare the wind. True story.